Hey guys, so we've got an Aprilia SR50R here today, and this one has a stage 6 exhaust fitted. So one of the things with these exhausts, because they're a relatively high-end exhaust, they tend to be pretty loud. So this one in particular has done a few thousand Ks now, and being a two-stroke, oil burning inside the cylinder with the fuel, a lot of that oil tends to convert into carbon on its way out, and pretty much just gets caught inside the silencer here and builds up inside the fiberglass wool inside there. So instead of the wool being nice and soft and the sound deadening, it ends up becoming quite hard as it gets full of carbon. So basically doing nothing and sounding quite offensively loud. So what we're going to be doing with this one today, got some fiberglass packing wool here. So this stuff's pretty much exactly the right size for the stinger, and we're going to be removing this stinger. This one's pretty easy by the quick release spring here, but most other even lower end performance exhaust, generally it is removed with 3 bolts here and then the strap around here. So we're going to pop that off, going to undo these 3 nuts here so we can actually remove the outer sleeve of the silencer to access the silencing wool, and I'll have a look and see what's going on and get this new packing wool into there, try and quieten this thing down. So now we've got him off, we're just going to be removing essentially these 3 little nuts here, and that's going to release this outer sleeve so we can get into the packing. Okay, so we've gotten the sleeve off the actual silencer there. So as you can see, this one's actually been repacked before, you can tell by the tape. And just if you can sort of see around here, all that black soot has all come out of this. So this is precisely the reason why we tell people or suggest to them don't use race oils or heavy oils, because our heavy oils don't like to burn very well and they turn into this black, sooty, horrible stuff that just builds up inside the engine. So what we're going to do is we just started today, we're going to run a couple of slits up and down here. What I will say before we get too much further, if you're doing this at home, definitely wear gloves. This stuff here, it's just virtually the same stuff that you see like on your roof for insulation. It's fiberglass wool. If this gets into your skin on your fingers, it ggets really itchy and irritated, and it's absolutely horrible. Probably also should be a little bit careful breathing in it as well. Not good for you. So we're going to go ahead and remove this wool and start getting the new stuff in there. Okay, so as you can see there, that is absolutely revolting. This is like a steel wool that's often used as the initial coating inside the silencer. And this is the actual silencing material there. So you see how well you can see about how thick this black soot is. And that's essentially the barrier for the silencing wool not being able to absorb the sound, which is where that really loud, harsh sound is coming from. So we're going to prep up this new wool and start wrapping it onto the silencer. Okay, so this is the inside of the silencer here. Didn't get a good look at it before, so I thought I'd just quickly show you. So essentially, it's just a tube, hollow tube there, bunch of holes drilled in it. So the idea being that the air carrying quite a lot of sound with it comes through here, and essentially as it bounces on its way through, being disrupted by these holes, that as the noise bounces out of the hole, it gets deadened by the wool, and when it makes its way back in, it's hopefully not quite as strong as it was when it initially entered the hole. So that's basically the idea here, is just to disrupt the airflow and disrupt the sound as it bounces its way through. By the time it gets out of the end here, it's essentially a lot quieter, which is why the carbon being all built up on the outside here stops it from doing that, because it's essentially just bouncing off the carbon immediately and not really deadening the sound at all. So I'm going to grab our silencer wool, going to start to wrap it around here and hopefully quieten this thing down a fair bit. So you see there, we've just essentially wrapped the outside with masking tape just to keep it all packed into place. It's precisely the same technique you'll see a lot of the motocross guys using. It just helps keep all that packing in place, and masking tape isn't too badly affected by the heat. So also, if when it comes time to change this packing again, it'll make it a bit easier to slide out of the actual tube. So we're going to go ahead and chuck this back in. If you're doing this yourself, just make sure that you slide it in the correct way, because if you slide it in backwards, your logo is going to look a bit funny and it's going to be very frustrating. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this back in. It's just about being patient and making sure that the packing's sliding in there nice and freely and not getting caught up, and not going to get all bunched up inside there. It's going to stay in place where it's been left. So one of the easy ways of doing this is just by twisting it as you slide it in, so it doesn't bind up. But a lot of the time you're trying to get sort of as much packing in there as you can, just to keep it quiet. So it's just a balance of getting as much in there as you can, but taking your time to get it back in there so it all stays in place. Okay, so she's all in there. You can see in the end that little end cap. So no overhanging silencing wall there, none here. So we're just going to go ahead and chuck the little gasket and the end cap and the nuts and stuff back on. And we're going to reinstall it on the bike and start the bike up and see how it sounds. Alrighty guys, here we are, all packed up, ready to go. So what I'm going to do, I apologise, it's a little bit windy here today, so there might be a bit of wind noise. I'm against a wall, so it's going to sound a little bit louder. But let's start her up and see how much quieter she is. difficult to tell from the video, but that is significantly quieter. One thing you will notice with these stage 6 exhausts, they are pretty loud because again they're a fairly high-end street exhaust. So they're kind of essentially a copy of a race exhaust. So you get pretty close to a race level sound, but also pretty close to race level performance. So certainly not the exhaust that you're going to choose if you're after something stealthy, but definitely what you'd choose if you're after the top performance, which is absolutely what these will give you. So there you have it. Fairly simple process, and it's just about if the packing isn't the correct size for your Stinger, just give it a chop up with some scissors, get the size right, make sure you wear some gloves, and just take your time, and you can quiet your scooter down a fair bit fairly simply.